Hello, and thank you for joining us today. Wow, it looks like we have a full house. Thanks, everyone. We're happy to have you here with us to talk about enterprise loyalty for your financial institution. Today's event is being captioned by 3Play Media. To access the captions, click the closed captions icon on the Zoom dashboard at the bottom of your screen. We will also have time at the end of today's webinar for questions. So feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A box, again located in the Zoom dashboard at the bottom of your screen. My name is Anna Corby, and I am the Content Marketing Specialist at RAZR. RAZR is a marketing technology company based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. At RAZR, we leverage our configurable technology platform with behavioral science and marketing services to build comprehensive enterprise loyalty solutions for our clients. We're excited to be talking about RAZR Financial's Loyalty Core. Loyalty Core is a platform that will serve as a centralized hub to synthesize all customer data, providing a unified view of the customer, which makes true enterprise loyalty a reality for your financial institution. I'd like to introduce Sarah Cole, VP here at RAZR and the guru of all gurus on credit and enterprise loyalty. Sarah has worked with mid-size and Fortune 500 companies to help them engage with the audiences who drive their revenue, working with organizations such as Charles Schwab, Jack Henry, US Bank, and BECU, among others. Sarah, I'll turn it over to you to get started talking about enterprise loyalty via Loyalty Core.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anna. Well, it's good to have everybody join us today. We definitely have quite the crew with us. So we're excited to dive in, discuss everything Loyalty Core, but really the larger story of loyalty strategy and enterprise loyalty. So as we get started, enterprise loyalty, what the heck is it? Well, enterprise loyalty has multiple names. Some call it enterprise loyalty. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as relationship rewards or even relationship banking. But the reality of it, it is scoring multiple activities or behaviors across your member or customer base, and then producing some type of value out of their activity. And it could be points, it could be cash, it could be a multitude of different things. So it has definitely been on everybody's radar, especially in the last 3 to 5 years. And really it's gaining traction now, and it is the future of where financial institutions are going when it comes to creating loyalty and sustaining loyalty with your audience base. So there's a couple of challenges though that happen across the industry when it comes to attempting to implement any type of enterprise loyalty. The first one really is around fragmented relationships. This is really the need causing us to need to dive into enterprise loyalty. I think everybody right now, if they counted on their fingers and maybe their toes, could count the number of different financial institutions that you have some type of a partnership with. If you really go through it from checking and savings and all of the credit cards you might have in your wallet, and then you move to auto loans and mortgages, HELOCs, all of those different product lines, it is now stretched across multiple partnerships and typically no longer with the same financial institution. And with that, you're seeing a very shallow household product penetration. And that's where we as financial organizations need to change up the way that we're responding and engaging with our audience base so we can drive up that product penetration again. But in attempts to do so, some of the challenges that we're seeing our clients and the individuals that we're talking to deal with are these. First one is silos. It's no surprise to anybody that's on this call that as banks or credit unions have evolved, they've added on different products, which typically come with different technologies, different potential CRMs. And those individuals are very fiercely protective of their own clients. And so the collaboration across those silos is pretty limited at quite a few of the financial institutions. The second one is these multiple complex data sources. When you really move to true enterprise loyalty, it forces you to look at your audience, your members, and your customers as a whole unit and not look at them by products, which means we need to be able to have a unique identifier across all the data sources And then the rewards or the things that you're choosing to give them from an incentive perspective need to actually all pool together. And that definitely requires a background in looking at all the data structures and being able to figure out the way to bring them together. Then we go into C-suite support. So executive alignment is typically a challenge for pretty much everybody that we have a conversation with. There's varying degrees of the purpose and the value of doing investments into some type of an enterprise loyalty program. And of course, last but not least, every good plan needs a very solid business case in order to get the approvals to happen. And that is also a fairly sizable struggle that many of our clients face. So those are the challenges, even attempting to start with enterprise loyalty. So before we go on, this is going to be an engaging webinar. So we're going to do a poll. And I'm curious with those that are on this webinar here, what your biggest challenge is. And I know I've spoken to several of you, so I'm already in my head thinking what it might be. But Anna, let's go ahead and pull that poll up.
For sure. All right, our first question for you today. What has been your biggest challenge? Is it silos, protective of customer base, different CRM systems, data, struggle to bring multiple data sources together, executive alignment, differing opinions on value and purpose, business case, difficulties in creating the case necessary for approval, or all of the above? Everything is a challenge. All right, we've got some answers rolling in. All right, looks like most people have had their time. Okay,
I'm
let's
very
look at the
curious on these
results.
results.
All right, it looks like most people are struggling with the data. They're struggling to bring multiple data sources together. Looks like some other people have been struggling with the silos, protective of customer base, different CRM systems. And luckily, not too many people are struggling with the business case.
This is super helpful information. And it is, the data is a big struggle. Trying to bring all the data together, being able to look at it from a single lens can be quite the struggle. So let's dive into how we can overcome these challenges and actually create a path where you can look at moving forward with enterprise loyalty. So the solution, and what we mentioned before, it's really to shift those programs beyond that traditional rewards. And when I say traditional rewards, I think we all know of the legacy credit card rewards programs where you swipe a card, get a point, it goes into a point bank. Maybe some of you are still running a few of the debit type programs on that level. But really, we want to look at the overall loyalty strategy and how that drives that real behavior change, and then how what you're doing in other areas of the organization funnel down into what loyalty core is. So when we think of loyalty strategy, I'm going to go all the way back. So everything truly starts with your personas. It's looking at who are the people that we want to engage with. So looking at your different personas. I mean, obviously this is Colton Chadwick. He's a CFO. He's going to be on your higher net wealth side, net worth side. We look at, at Tia and what her story is and what she's trying to accomplish. And the reason why these personas are so important is because understanding who they are will help you understand what type of loyalty or incentives they will respond to. So once you have your personas developed, then we go into what is the actual member or customer journey? How do they come into your organization? What is the path we're doing from an onboarding perspective with those first products? How are we going to engage them and entice them throughout the path to go down the things that we want them to do, which is ultimately to become the primary financial institution? Then we look at things like product strategy. All of these things feed into what are the type of products you need to deliver to the marketplace to capture the attention of the individuals you want to have as your clients and as your members. So once you have all of that set up, it trickles down into now, how are we going to communicate with them? So you've made investments already into some type of a CRM system. Some of you might have multiple CRM systems, but what we want to do is take a look at where are your investments within a CRM system that you're now putting that along with your marketing automation, where you're storing your personas and your members and categorizing them, and then putting your member journeys into that marketing automation and being able to start communicating with them at very calculated points so that we can help bring them down those journeys that you've created. Now, once you get done with all of that, now comes to the fun data analysis. And I'm sure several of you have had really good partnerships with either outside organizations that come in and do the data analysis for you, or you have good internal teams that look at that. But that is really analyzing everything from the actual transactions themselves to the activities that they're doing, say meeting with a banker, or the communications that you're sending out. What are they opening? What are they responding to? So when you have that, what that all feeds down into is what are your actionables? How can you do cross-sell promotions? What are the right types of things to engage with them? And then sending those out. That's typically where things stop at an organization. So you're doing the right work and you have the right things in place, but then it stops. This is where now loyalty core comes into place, because this is what it all trickles down into, is you need a system or a partnership that can bring what you're doing across all those areas down into a centralized system that can manage it. It can manage all of your earns. So where do you want to provide incentives along the way? It can manage your outputs. So what are the things that you want to be giving them to incentivize them? And then it creates the one site where they all log into, whether it's through online banking or their desktop, where everything for loyalty lives and resides for their partnership with your financial institution. Now, it all sounds good. We can help in certain different ways. We know our marketing or our strategy teams helping you out, but more importantly, this is where we see a lot of our customers getting stuck. And it's really around that strategy of, I like enterprise loyalty, but what the heck should I be awarding for these different types of behaviors and activities? So this is definitely something that will need to be in your plan when you're trying to calculate the value of what you want to reward and be able to help drive those business cases. So again, I'm going to pause. We're going to have another poll. Because again, everything starts right at that top point with personas. And so I have a question around the frequency of when was the last time you refreshed your personas? All right, Anna, pull that one up.
All right. Again, when was the last time your personas were refreshed? Was it 10 years ago, pre-COVID, or within the last 5 years, post-COVID? Or I have no clue, and you'll get back to us.
All right, enter your answers in.
All right, we've got some answers rolling in. Okay, let's take a look at the results. Looks like for most of us, we have no clue, and they'll get back to us. Yeah, so most people, we got 60% have no clue. And then the other majority was pre-COVID or within the past 5 years.
Yeah, Annie, this is very telling, and this is very true. It's, sometimes we look at a technology, and a technology is great, but it's what we're doing that leads into the technology strategy that is really critical and really important. So again, going back to the personas, from a what do I do after this? That's probably one of the first things you should tackle, is just seeing where you're at with your personas and making sure that what we're doing all the way through for enterprise loyalty is really streaming off of that, those really relevant personas to your financial institution. All right, so when I say everything drives into loyalty core, let's dig in a little bit deeper into what loyalty core actually is. So there's many components that are necessary to make up a loyalty core. The first one is around the dreaded data management, which was by far the biggest challenge that you guys addressed in that first section. So all of the data integrations need to be in the same place. Now, that's one thing that RAZR has taken pride in, and something that we're very focused on. Is when you run an enterprise loyalty program, you have to have a platform that can accept multiple streams of data and push out multiple streams of data. But in addition to that, loyalty core should not be singularly for just one thing. You need to be able to plug in even additional partners. So if you have partners and technologies that you've already invested into, those can all plug into the loyalty core. as I mentioned on the previous diagram, you've already made really fantastic investments into things like a CRM system or a marketing automation system. There's data that we can pull out of that that feeds into Loyalty Core, which will help us with scoring of behaviors and activities and providing outcomes for those. In addition, we can go to any processor or any core and get data that way as well. So very scalable, very configurable. I'm going to show you this next slide. Take a deep breath. There's no quiz on this. What I do want to rest assured is that when we sit down with any of your tech teams, we will be able to walk them through how the technology of the platform works and all of the check boxes that need to happen from a security and a compliance perspective. But it is all about data flowing in, data flowing out. And at the end of the day, it's about looking at your member or your customer holistically across their multiple services and multiple products versus in a silo by one product over here or another product over on that side. All right, so you have the rules. What do we do? Or we have the data. So what do we do with those? We need to apply a set of rules against the data to score that data to produce some type of an outcome. So again, you think of legacy programs as swipe a card, get a point, put it into a point bank. Those are fantastic. And there's always going to be a need for that, but it goes beyond that. So when you think about enterprise loyalty, we're going to look at it on a little bit broader of a perspective. So individual products. So we know about the credit card, we know about debit, but adding to it, you can look across multiple products. So, you know, their checking accounts, their savings accounts, looking into the different loans that they might have. All right, but now we're going to expand beyond that. So let's look at things like product grouping. Again, this is how do we look at it bigger than just a single product? So obviously, if they have multiple products, that good household product penetration, we can look at giving points or rewards for doing that. But we can also get a little creative with looking at spend level or total transaction level, or even just the longevity that they've had with your organization. Then we get into self-serve, which really are the things that create either operational efficiencies for you or create stickiness on behalf of your customer or members. So things like if they sign up for e-statements or do mobile deposits, maybe they're signing up for, again, direct deposit or doing bill pay through your organization. Those are all things that can deserve some type of an incentive. And again, not all incentives are multiple over and over and over again, right? You might do a one-time for e-statements, or you might do for 2 months, every time they do a mobile deposit, they get something, right? Sort of train that behavior in, but then that one can be turned off. Good behavior. So this one has been quite the topic of conversation with many of the credit unions and banks that I've been working with, which is around how do we take a struggling market that's within our audience and really help them out. And so you can create these good behavior activities with on-time loan payments, financial literacy. We're talking with quite a few about running a mortgage program where over the course of 2 years, they're doing financial literacy, they're doing webinars, they're learning how to budget, they're making sure that they're doing the right things with keeping minimums in accounts, building up in that savings account, increasing credit scores. And all of those activities, they're earning points or value for that in 2 years when they're ready for an actual mortgage, they can use those points to actually buy down the interest rate on that mortgage. And then, of course, relationship drivers. It's your birthday, it's your anniversary with us, you referred a friend to us. Now, when we talk about that, there's also ways that you can give them as the outcome that aren't just points in a point bank. Now, that absolutely can be one. People love their merchandise and their travel and their gift cards, but it also can be fee waivers, account or ATM. It could be accessing a higher interest rate on a savings account. It could be cash back into an account of their choice. It could also be things where it triggers a communication or a certain email to engage them in some way, or even elevate their tier status. So again, I want you to break the mold of thinking it only has to be a point in a point bank. Certainly a place for that, but you can do other things with that as well. All right, so now they've got the points, they've got the cash, they've got different things. We need to do the rewards management, right? And so when you think of rewards, there's a multitude of ways you can do that within an enterprise loyalty system. You can do cumulative awards, which starts to build that point bank and the things that they're doing in there, or a one-time award where they signed up for a mortgage, close on that mortgage, and now we want to gift them something to make their house a home. Could be a Ring doorbell, it could be an air fryer for their kitchen, it could be something fun like that. So you need to have the whole ecosystem to allow for a diverse range of rewards, and even things where your own products can be rewards. where they can sign up for a reduction on a loan, an increase on an interest rate, many different things right within that. And then, of course, this is just a quick example of what the merchandise site looks like. But on the bigger one too, now it comes down to customer experience. What's in it for them and how can they easily interact with that? And so again, everything needs to be done through single sign-on. You should be able to do communications through whatever loyalty platform that you choose so that you can send them emails or text messages, let them know the value that they're getting, over communicate the value of what you're bringing into them, and even connect right directly into your online banking systems, whether you're using an Alchemy, a Q2, a Banno, or you're using some internal program that you've built yourself. So making sure you have those APIs and webhooks to transition data to those experiences as well. And this is just an example of what some different member sites could look like. And last but not least, you got to be able to run and manage the thing. So you really want to look for a program where you can configure the programs, the promotions, manage campaigns, whether you have a team that helps you, whether it's things that you want to do yourself, and then of course have the ability to see reporting and things that are happening there. So just give you a sneak peek of what an admin portal could look like on the backside of a loyalty program. A couple of just quick snippets in there. Some data will actually show you how your team is or your audience is responding to the different promotions, the different engagements, where we're seeing trends. Okay, so that was a fast push through. Again, this is just an introduction to teach you a little bit about Loyalty Core. I do have one additional poll before we get into the questions that I'm going to have Anna pull up. I know several of you that are on this webinar today, I've had personal conversations with, and I know the plans around enterprise loyalty, but it's good for everybody on the call to see, because there's dozens of you on this call, see what other people are at within their process of trying to get to enterprise loyalty. So Anna, why don't you throw that last poll up there?
Awesome. Okay, so what is your financial institution's plan to execute on enterprise loyalty? Are you actively running some form of enterprise loyalty? Need something active by the end of 2024 to make progress on the initiative? Discovery in 2024 and plans to execute in 2025 or 25, 26, 27? Not really sure. It's been an initiative for years, so fingers crossed. Right, we've got some answers rolling in. We'll give you a couple more seconds. All right. We'll go ahead and share the results now. All right, Sarah, it looks like most people are in discovery this year, but they're planning on executing in 2025. So that would be 62% people are looking at 2025. And then the other majority, not really sure when it's going to happen, but they've had the initiative for years, and fingers crossed it'll happen soon.
And this actually isn't surprising for me to see. Again, it's just helpful for everybody that's on here, both banks and credit unions, just to understand that this is where the future of financial institutions are heading when they're thinking about loyalty. And you can see a lot of your peers on here are doing discovery this year. They're going to have some type of a program in place by next year. So this is what is happening in this space. And for that group, I think it was 20-some% that is, sometime it'll happen, fingers crossed. I get that frustration. And those boil back to the challenges in the beginning of just having the initiative and not being able to get started, because whether it's data issues or whether it's executive alignment, we understand those struggles. And as we move forward, I'm going to kind of tee up, we're going to do another webinar in a month, which will actually help you start to create the plan around how do you even get things kicked off in your discovery journey when trying to figure out this whole enterprise loyalty platform or enterprise loyalty strategy. With that being said, I know the Q&A where you could drop your questions in, there are several in there. If we don't get to all of them, we're happy to have individual conversations with you after this. But Anna, why don't you go ahead and read a couple of those questions for the last couple of minutes that we have here?
Yeah, for sure. Got some really great questions here. Thanks to everybody who dropped a question in the box. All right, Sarah, they're wondering what's the first step they should take?
It's a good question. If you go back to the challenges, I would say the very first step has to start with executive alignment. because everything stems out of that. So having your executive alignment and your C-suite be on the same page of this is something we want to invest into, what we're going to do and how we're going to go about that, right? Or at least putting forth the initiative to develop that plan. It can be a big undertaking, right? So we always talk in our world about crawl, walk, run. And so again, starting with executive alignment, making sure everybody's on board, and then start to go through the journey of really, again, I go back to personas. When was the last time those were refreshed? And then how does that feed through your member journey? And then your products, because what you're doing with enterprise loyalty is layering on the incentive portion of the why should I care as a member or customer, that you want me to do the very things you want me to do. And that really is the basis of your enterprise loyalty strategy. So those are the spots that I would start first.
Awesome. We've got another great question here. We know that RAZR has a new partnership with Jack Henry. Do we have access to this platform through Jack Henry?
Great question. So Jack Henry and RAZR do have a partnership. We actually help consult on their enterprise loyalty strategy from a core perspective over the course of the last year and a half, and are currently building their enterprise loyalty platform. So if you are on one of Jack Henry's core systems, whether it's Silver Lake or Scimitar, this will be available to you through the Jack Henry partnership, which would just reduce the number of technical integrations required to drive to enterprise loyalty. Outside of that, we are definitely agnostic, so we can work with wherever your data partners are set up. We actually work with a couple of the card processors on the backside as well. So again, it's just really a matter of getting access to the data so that we can help you run and actually configure these enterprise loyalty platforms.
All right, another question. How long does it take to get a program like this up and running?
That's the golden question. The reality is you know, there's things that you can start in the process. I'll go back to this crawl, walk, run. Sometimes it can feel very overwhelming if you're trying to boil the ocean and put every product and every service in there right out of the gate. And what I say is pause. Let's start with some small wins. The small wins will help again with that executive alignment with those business cases that we should be investing more into them. So it could be something as simple as starting with an ad hoc gift that they get when they sign up for an auto loan or a mortgage. You can start as simple as that, but then start working towards looking at where your investments are today, where data would need to come from, looking at where you have a credit card rewards program. It could start with credit card rewards, and now let's add in debit. Whereas if they do 10 transactions, they get a fee waived on that account. So there's lots of possibilities, but again, when you have these conversations, you realize very quickly, all of a sudden everybody wants in, and it can be very overwhelming. So I would say start slow and then slowly move it out. And over the course of 3 to 5 years, you'll have a fully operational, fully running program across all multitude of behaviors and products.
Thanks, Sarah. I think we have time for just one more question. We want to be mindful of your time today. How do you integrate with Co-op and Fiserv?
So Co-op and Fiserv. So we actually have been serving legacy Co-op and First Data, which of course was the backend systems was acquired by Fiserv. So we're collecting data from them today. So it's as simple as us just setting up whether we're doing it through API or through a nightly batch file to receive those transactions, whether it's from a debit side or from a credit side.
Awesome. That is all the questions we have time for today. I know that we didn't get to all of them, but we will have Sarah's contact up on the screen. So please don't hesitate to reach out directly and she'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate your time today. Looking forward to having additional conversations with you after this webinar. Thanks so much.